Very urgent, your soulmate is getting closer to another person. But something unexpected is happening. Don't scroll, because what looks like your soulmate getting closer to someone else may not be leading where you think it is. My beloved child, your heart needs this right now because you may have been feeling a strange heaviness lately, almost as if something is happening outside your view. Maybe you have sensed distance. Maybe their energy feels different. Maybe you have wondered whether another person is slowly taking your place. But listen to this carefully. Appearances do not always reveal the emotional truth underneath them. Your soulmate may indeed be spending more time around another person, talking more, opening up, or allowing a connection to develop, but something unexpected is beginning to happen inside them. Instead of making them forget you, this new closeness is forcing them to remember you more clearly. Instead of proving that your connection was replaceable, it is showing them the exact things they once took for granted. And the more they notice those differences, the harder it becomes for them to pretend that what they felt with you was ordinary. Wait, because the first unexpected thing is happening in the smallest moments. Your soulmate may be talking to this person and suddenly remember how naturally conversation flowed with you. Maybe the other person says something kind, but instead of simply enjoying the moment, your soulmate remembers the specific way you used to understand them. Maybe they share a story and realize they have to explain details you would have understood immediately. My beloved child, don't scroll, because comparison was not something they planned. They may even feel guilty for doing it. Yet their mind keeps returning to you. They are beginning to recognize that emotional familiarity is not easy to recreate. What they once thought was simply chemistry may have been something deeper, a feeling of being seen, known, and emotionally safe. Listen closely, because your soulmate may have believed this new person would make everything simpler. Perhaps they told themselves, maybe this is what I need. Maybe I should stop looking backward. Maybe I should give someone new a chance. And there is nothing wrong with meeting new people, but your heart needs this right now. Moving towards someone new does not automatically resolve unfinished emotions. My beloved child, your soulmate is finding that out. They can change the person sitting across from them, but they cannot instantly change what remains unresolved inside their own heart. Certain memories are still there. Certain questions are still unanswered. And your absence keeps appearing in moments when they expected to feel completely present with someone else. Don't look away, because something about this new connection is exposing your soulmate's emotional patterns. They may have thought you were the reason things became complicated before. They may have blamed the intensity, the timing, or the circumstances around your connection. But now similar fears are beginning to surface with another person too. Fear of vulnerability. Fear of commitment. Fear of being known too deeply. Listen to this. Your soulmate is starting to realize that perhaps you were not the problem. Maybe the deeper issue was something inside them that they had never fully healed. That realization is uncomfortable because it means they cannot keep escaping their own emotional work by changing who they are close to. Your heart needs this right now, because seeing them getting closer to someone else may have made you question your worth. Maybe you wondered, why could they open up to this person but not me? Maybe you asked yourself whether you were too intense, too emotional, too available, or somehow not enough. My beloved child, stop measuring yourself against someone else's position in their life. A person choosing a new direction in one moment does not make you less valuable. Sometimes people move toward what feels easier because what feels deeper scares them. Sometimes they seek comfort instead of transformation. And sometimes they do not understand what one connection meant until another connection holds up a mirror. Pause here, because that mirror is beginning to show your soulmate something unexpected. The new person may be perfectly kind, interesting, attractive, or supportive, yet your soulmate still feels a strange emotional gap they cannot explain. Don't scroll. This is not about saying one person is better than another. It is about the uniqueness of connection. Your soulmate is beginning to understand that every relationship carries its own emotional language. And the language they shared with you had details they never fully appreciated until those details were gone. The way you listened. The way you noticed their mood before they said anything. The way you could make ordinary conversations feel strangely meaningful. Those memories are beginning to return with more intensity. Listen to this, because there may be a particular moment when everything shifted inside them. Perhaps this new person asked your soulmate what they truly wanted in love. Maybe they asked about past connections. Maybe they casually said something like, "Have you ever loved someone you never really got over?" My beloved child, imagine what happened inside your soulmate when that question landed. They may have paused. They may have changed the subject. They may have laughed nervously. But later, the question followed them into silence. And the first person their heart brought forward was you. Don't scroll, because your soulmate may be realizing that they never gave themselves permission to grieve what happened between you. They tried to move forward before fully understanding what they were moving away from. They may have told themselves that enough time had passed, that distance meant closure, that silence meant the story was finished. But your heart needs this right now. Silence and closure are not the same thing. My beloved child, sometimes silence simply means two people stopped speaking while feelings remained unresolved. And now this new connection is forcing your soulmate to confront the emotional chapter they tried to skip. Stay with this message, because your own spiritual awakening is happening at the same time. Maybe you have been seeing 111 when thoughts of a fresh beginning enter your mind. Perhaps 222 appears when you are questioning balance in love. Maybe 444 shows up when you need grounding, or 555 seems to appear whenever you feel that something is shifting. My beloved child, let these signs bring you back to yourself. Do not treat them as commands to chase your soulmate or compete with another person. Use them as reminders to ask, what kind of love am I willing to receive now? Your journey is becoming less about whether someone chooses you and more about whether you are choosing what protects your peace. Listen carefully, because the next unexpected development may be that the new person can sense something is unresolved too. They may notice your soulmate becoming distracted after certain conversations. They may notice how your soulmate reacts when your name comes up, even indirectly. Perhaps your soulmate becomes quieter when discussing the past. Maybe they avoid certain questions. Don't scroll, because emotional truth often finds ways to reveal itself even when someone is trying hard to hide it. The new person may be starting to realize that your soulmate's heart is not as available as it first appeared. Your heart needs this right now, because if that happens, it could force your soulmate into a difficult conversation. They may have to admit that someone from their past still matters. Maybe they do not use your name. Maybe they simply say, "There is something I never fully resolved." My beloved child, that admission matters because it means they can no longer pretend the issue disappeared just because they started getting closer to someone else. Emotional honesty is becoming unavoidable. Don't look away, because your soulmate is also beginning to remember how everything changed between you. They are replaying the moment when communication became inconsistent. They remember the conversations they avoided. They remember when you tried to ask what was wrong. They remember times when they could have reassured you and chose silence instead. Listen to this. The new connection is making them see those choices differently. Maybe this other person asks for clarity in a way similar to how you once did, and suddenly your soulmate realizes that your requests were not unreasonable. You were not asking for too much. You were asking for emotional presence. Wait, because this realization is beginning to create regret. Your soulmate may now understand that they called your needs pressure because they were afraid to meet them. They may have labeled your desire for honesty as intensity because honesty required them to become vulnerable. My beloved child, don't scroll, because hindsight can be painful. They are beginning to recognize that what they pushed away may have been exactly the kind of emotional maturity they now claim they want. Listen closely, because there is another layer to this story. Your soulmate may have started getting closer to this new person partly because they wanted proof that they could move on. Maybe they wanted to convince themselves that your connection was not as powerful as it felt. Perhaps they believed that if another person made them smile, laugh, or feel desired, your memory would finally fade. But your heart needs this right now. Distraction is not the same as healing. My beloved child, the more they tried to use a new chapter to erase the old one, the more obvious the unfinished pages became. Don't scroll, because there is one specific thing they miss that they never expected to miss so much: your emotional presence. Maybe you had a way of listening that made them feel like they did not have to perform. Maybe they could be quiet around you without feeling awkward. Maybe you understood their complicated moods without making everything about yourself. And now, surrounded by something new, they are realizing how rare that was. My beloved child, sometimes a person recognizes the value of peace only after they no longer have access to the person who helped them feel it. Your heart needs this right now, because their realization does not mean you should rush toward them. This is important. You do not need to interrupt whatever they are exploring. You do not need to compete, post something to make them jealous, or send a message hoping to remind them of you. Let their choices teach them. Let reality reveal what comparison cannot. My beloved child, if this connection has something genuine left to say, it should not require you to fight another person for attention. Your dignity matters. Pause here, because your soulmate may be experiencing something strange whenever they see 222. They may begin thinking about partnership, balance, and the emotional gap between what they are doing and what they truly feel. Perhaps 444 appears when they are questioning whether the new connection has a stable foundation. Maybe 555 shows up during moments when they know change is coming. Whether they view these numbers as spiritual signs or simple coincidences, the effect may still be reflection. Don't scroll. They are slowing down and asking questions they tried to avoid before. Listen to this, because one of those questions may be, am I being fair to this new person? That is where your soulmate's awakening becomes more responsible. If they are still emotionally tied to you, they may realize that getting deeper with someone else without admitting that truth could hurt everyone involved. My beloved child, genuine growth requires honesty, not triangles. If they are going to continue with this new person, they need to be emotionally present. If they cannot be, they need to admit why. Stay with this message, because there may soon be a moment when the new person directly confronts them. Maybe they ask, "Who are you thinking about?" Maybe they say, "I feel like part of you is somewhere else." Don't look away, because your soulmate may not know how to answer. Their first instinct could be denial, but something inside them is becoming tired of pretending. They know that continuing to avoid the truth will only create another cycle of confusion. Your heart needs this right now, because you may be feeling their situation from a place of fear. Perhaps you are afraid this new person will become permanent. Maybe you think every day they spend together means your connection is disappearing. My beloved child, do not build your peace around what you cannot control. Their choices belong to them. Your life belongs to you. If they choose another path completely, you are still worthy of love that chooses you openly. If they return with clarity, you still get to decide whether that clarity is enough. Don't scroll, because the unexpected thing happening now is not only that your soulmate is comparing the new person to you. They are also comparing who they were with you to who they are becoming now. Around you, perhaps they felt more emotionally alive. Maybe you challenged them to be honest. Maybe you encouraged parts of them they had hidden. With someone new, they may suddenly notice that they are slipping back into old patterns, staying surface level, avoiding vulnerability, protecting themselves. My beloved child, that contrast is making them realize that your connection was not only about romance. It awakened something in them. Listen carefully, because this is where regret may turn into curiosity about you. They may start wondering how you are doing. Are you still thinking about them? Have you healed? Have you met someone? Have you stopped waiting? Don't scroll, because those questions are becoming more uncomfortable now that they are getting closer to another person. They expected your absence to become easier. Instead, the possibility that you might truly move on is starting to feel more real. Wait, because someone may have recently mentioned you without knowing how deeply the subject would affect them. Perhaps your name came up casually. Maybe they saw an old photo. Maybe they heard a song connected to a memory. My beloved child, something simple may have caused an emotional reaction they could not hide. And if the new person noticed, your soulmate may have been forced to confront just how visible their unresolved feelings still are. Your heart needs this right now, because whatever they feel does not erase the choices they make. Do not confuse longing with readiness. Your soulmate may miss you deeply and still need to grow before they can offer you anything healthy. My beloved child, if they ever return, pay attention to whether they have actually learned how to communicate, whether they have cleared any existing relationship honestly, and whether they are willing to show consistency instead of emotional urgency. Don't look away, because the new connection may be becoming the very thing that finally shows your soulmate what they lost. Not because the new person is wrong for them, but because contrast can create clarity. Your soulmate is noticing which qualities matter most. Emotional safety. honesty, ease, depth, mutual understanding. And your memory keeps appearing beside those qualities. Listen to this. They are beginning to wonder whether they walked away from something rare because it scared them. Stay with me, because your soulmate may now be wrestling with a difficult choice. Do they continue moving closer to this new person and hope unresolved feelings disappear? Do they slow everything down and confront their own heart? Or do they finally admit that they need to understand what happened between you before they can honestly move forward anywhere else? My beloved child, this is the crossroads forming now. Listen closely, because there is one conversation they may already be imagining with you. It begins with something simple. I need to tell you what really happened. They may want to explain why they tried to move on so quickly. They may want to admit that they thought another person would make the connection with you easier to forget. And they may want to tell you the part that scares them most: getting closer to someone else has not erased you. It has made certain truths about you impossible to ignore. Don't scroll, because that does not mean you should wait. Your destiny is not sitting inside their confusion. Continue your own life. Continue becoming emotionally grounded. If 111 appears, think about your own new beginning. If 222 appears, ask whether the connections around you feel balanced. If 444 appears, remember that stability is something you deserve. If 555 appears, trust that change can create space for something healthier. Your heart needs this right now, because the biggest unexpected development may still be ahead. Your soulmate may soon discover something about the new person, or about themselves, that completely changes the direction they thought they were taking. Maybe the new person says something that forces them to admit they are emotionally unavailable. Maybe they realize they are staying because they are afraid to be alone. Maybe they discover that what they thought was a new beginning was actually an attempt to avoid an old truth. Don't leave this message yet, because something else is beginning to happen behind the scenes. Your soulmate may be getting closer to this person publicly while privately becoming more honest about what they still feel for you. That contradiction cannot continue forever. Sooner or later, a decision has to be made. And my beloved child, the next thing they realize may shock even them. The closer they get to someone else, the more clearly they are seeing the exact moment they lost emotional closeness with you, and how much of that distance may have been caused by their own fear. Listen carefully to this final revelation, because the next chapter is not simply about whether your soulmate chooses you or another person. It is about whether they finally choose truth. Something is happening inside this new connection that is forcing them to confront a memory they buried, the moment when they had the chance to tell you exactly how they felt and deliberately stayed silent. And now, as another person begins asking for the same honesty you once asked for, your soulmate is realizing what you were trying to teach them all along. My beloved child, that realization may become the turning point, because what happens next could force them to decide whether they continue building something new while carrying unfinished love, or finally face the connection they never truly understood how to leave. Don't scroll, because the new connection is beginning to force your soulmate into a truth they were hoping they could avoid. My beloved child, getting closer to another person was supposed to make everything simpler. They believed a fresh connection might help quiet the memories, lessen the emotional pull, and give them proof that they could move forward without looking back. But listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. The closer they get to this new person, the more obvious certain differences are becoming. They are beginning to notice what they once had with you without even meaning to compare. They notice how naturally you understood their moods. They remember how you could sense when something was wrong before they found the words to explain it. They remember conversations that moved effortlessly from laughter into something deep and vulnerable. And now, while trying to be present somewhere new, pieces of your connection keep returning. That is what is surprising them most. They expected memories of you to fade. Instead, those memories are becoming clearer. Wait, because the person they are getting closer to may already feel that something inside your soulmate is unresolved. Maybe this new person notices moments when your soulmate suddenly becomes quiet. Maybe they ask a simple question about the past and your soulmate's entire energy shifts. Perhaps they mention love, commitment, or emotional honesty, and suddenly your soulmate starts thinking about everything they never told you. Don't scroll, because there may come a point when this new person asks, "Is there someone you're still thinking about?" And even if your soulmate says no immediately, that question could remain in their mind long after the conversation ends. My beloved child, emotional truth has a way of becoming louder when someone tries too hard to hide it. Listen closely, because this unexpected situation is making your soulmate revisit the exact moment they began pulling away from you. For a long time, they told themselves the distance was necessary. Maybe they believed the connection was becoming too complicated. Maybe they thought you wanted more emotional clarity than they were ready to give. Maybe they convinced themselves that walking away would protect both of you. But your heart needs this right now. They are beginning to see that much of what they called complicated may simply have been vulnerability. You were asking them to be real. You were asking for honesty. And because honesty made them feel exposed, they confused emotional depth with emotional danger. Stay here, because the new person may be asking your soulmate for the same things you once asked for. Consistency. Communication. Reassurance. Clarity. And suddenly your soulmate is hearing your voice in those requests. My beloved child, don't scroll, because this is creating one of the strongest realizations they have had yet. They may be thinking, maybe they weren't asking for too much. Maybe I just wasn't ready to give something that healthy relationships actually require. That thought is changing the way they remember you. What they once labeled pressure may now look like emotional maturity. What they once called intensity may now look like genuine investment. And that realization is not comfortable. Your heart needs this right now, because you may have spent a long time believing that another person would automatically receive a better version of your soulmate. Maybe you imagine them suddenly becoming more communicative, more affectionate, more emotionally available for someone else, and you wondered why they could not do those things with you. My beloved child, stop punishing yourself with that comparison. A person does not magically heal simply because the face across from them changes. Their fears follow them. Their patterns follow them. Their communication habits follow them. And your soulmate is beginning to discover exactly that. Don't look away, because something inside this new connection may have triggered the same fear they once felt with you. Maybe your soulmate felt the new person becoming emotionally attached. Maybe they sensed expectations growing. Maybe commitment was mentioned. And suddenly the old instinct to pull away appeared again. Listen to this. That moment may have frightened your soulmate because it revealed something undeniable: you were not the cause of their fear. Intimacy itself was activating something unresolved inside them. My beloved child, this may be the first time they are truly seeing the pattern instead of blaming the person in front of them. Pause here, because this realization could be part of their spiritual awakening. Maybe 222 has started appearing when they think about partnership and balance. Perhaps 444 catches their attention when they are questioning whether their life has enough emotional stability. Maybe 555 appears during moments when they feel old patterns breaking down, while 111 shows up when they think about beginning differently. My beloved child, these numbers do not have to predict a reunion to be meaningful. Sometimes signs simply interrupt autopilot. They make a person stop and ask, "What am I repeating? What am I supposed to understand now?" And your soulmate is asking those questions more often. Listen to this, because the new person may have accidentally said something that reminded your soulmate of you in a powerful way. Maybe they said, "I need honesty even if the truth is uncomfortable." Perhaps they said, "I don't want to guess what you're feeling." Don't scroll, because those words may have felt familiar. You may have said something very similar once. Your soulmate may have dismissed it then, but hearing it from someone else is causing them to realize that the issue was never that you were demanding too much. The issue was that they were uncomfortable being emotionally transparent. Wait, because now your soulmate is starting to understand what your silence meant when you finally stopped reaching. They once thought you were trying to punish them. Maybe they believed you were being distant to get a reaction. But your heart needs this right now. They are beginning to realize that you may simply have become tired. Tired of asking the same questions. Tired of being emotionally available without receiving clarity. Tired of trying to understand someone who would not explain themselves. My beloved child, that realization is bringing a new kind of regret because now they can see your withdrawal as self-protection instead of rejection. Don't scroll, because there is one memory that keeps becoming stronger every time they get closer to this new person. It may be a quiet moment with you where nothing dramatic happened, yet they felt completely at ease. Perhaps you were talking late at night. Maybe you were sitting together doing something ordinary. Maybe you were simply listening while they spoke about something they rarely shared. My beloved child, that memory keeps resurfacing because it represents something they are struggling to find again: emotional safety without performance. With you, there were moments when they did not have to impress, explain, or pretend. Your heart needs this right now, because comparison does not automatically mean your soulmate should return to you. Their realization is their responsibility, not your assignment. If they are getting close to someone else, they need to handle that connection honestly. Listen carefully. You do not deserve to become a secret emotional backup plan while they explore something new. If they truly realize their feelings for you are unresolved, they need to slow down, tell the truth, and stop creating confusion for everyone involved. My beloved child, spiritual connection should never become an excuse for dishonesty. Stay with this message, because your soulmate may already be asking themselves whether continuing with this new person is fair. They can feel the emotional division. Part of them wants to move forward. Another part keeps returning to you. Don't look away, because that contradiction is becoming exhausting. They may laugh with this person and later think about you. They may receive affection and wonder why it feels different. They may be making plans while an inner voice asks, "Are you actually ready for this?" My beloved child, they are starting to understand that entering something new while carrying unresolved love can create another painful story. Listen closely, because the new person may not be unaware of this energy anymore. Maybe they have started asking more direct questions. Why do you seem distant sometimes? Why do you avoid talking about your last connection? Why does your mood change when certain things come up? Your soulmate may feel cornered by those questions, but not because this person is doing anything wrong. They feel cornered because the answers lead back to you. And don't scroll, because every time your soulmate tries to answer without acknowledging your significance, their own words start feeling incomplete. Wait, because there is a possibility that this new person has actually encouraged your soulmate to confront the past rather than ignore it. Maybe they said, if there's someone you need closure with, you should deal with that first. My beloved child, imagine how deeply that could affect your soulmate. They may have expected jealousy or anger, but instead they received a mirror. That could be the moment they finally realize that avoiding the unfinished chapter with you is affecting every new chapter they try to begin. Your heart needs this right now, because closure does not always mean reunion. Sometimes closure means two people finally say what they should have said a long time ago. Maybe your soulmate needs to tell you why they disappeared emotionally. Maybe they need to apologize. Maybe they need to hear how their behavior affected you. Don't scroll, because whatever form it takes, truth is becoming necessary. The longer they avoid it, the more it follows them into other relationships. Listen to this, because your soulmate is also beginning to see that they may have misread your strongest qualities. Your independence may have looked like emotional distance to them. Your directness may have felt threatening when they were used to avoidance. Your loyalty may have been taken for granted because they assumed it would always be there. My beloved child, the new connection is helping them reinterpret those qualities. They are beginning to understand that you were not difficult to love. You were asking for a kind of love they had not yet learned how to give consistently. Don't scroll, because the thought of you moving on is becoming much more real now. When your soulmate first got closer to this other person, they may have assumed you were somewhere still emotionally waiting. But what if you are not? What if you are healing? What if you are meeting new people too? What if someone is already showing you the kind of clear attention your soulmate failed to offer? My beloved child, those questions are creating anxiety inside them because they are finally understanding that time moves for you too. Pause for a moment, because this is where 555 may feel especially symbolic. Change. Not necessarily reunion. Not necessarily separation. Change. Your soulmate is learning that they cannot keep living inside the same emotional pattern forever. And you are learning that your future does not depend on someone else becoming ready. If 222 appears, think balance. If 444 appears, think foundation. If 111 appears, think about the new choices you are capable of making now. Listen carefully, because your soulmate may be remembering the last time you gave them a real opportunity to speak. Maybe you said, "Tell me what's going on." Maybe you asked if they wanted you in their life. Perhaps they could see that you were giving them a chance to be honest, and they still hesitated. Don't scroll. That memory hurts differently now because the new person may be asking similar questions, and your soulmate finally understands what it feels like to be on the receiving end of emotional uncertainty. Your heart needs this right now, because there is a lesson here for both of you. Your soulmate is learning that silence can wound even when it is not intended as punishment. You are learning that you do not have to keep translating silence into hope. My beloved child, love should eventually become clear enough to live in. It cannot exist forever as a feeling people are too afraid to name. Don't look away, because your soulmate may now be asking whether they chose this new connection because they truly wanted it or because they were afraid to be alone with unresolved feelings. That question is powerful. Maybe they liked this person genuinely, but rushed intimacy because they wanted relief from thinking about you. Maybe they wanted validation. Maybe they wanted to prove they could move on. Listen to this. If that is true, they are beginning to understand that the new person deserves honesty too. Stay with this message, because honesty may force your soulmate to slow everything down. They may tell this person, "I need time." They may admit, "There is something from my past I never resolved." My beloved child, that does not guarantee they are coming back to you. It means they may finally be becoming emotionally responsible enough to stop pretending. And sometimes that is the first real step toward clarity. Wait, because something surprising may happen if they create that space. Your soulmate could start thinking about contacting you. Not with a dramatic declaration, but with a conversation they have delayed for too long. Maybe they imagine saying, "Can we talk?" Maybe they want to explain why they pulled away. Maybe they want to ask whether you ever understood what was happening. Don't scroll, because this time they know a casual message may not be enough. If they reach out, they will need to bring more truth than they brought before. Your heart needs this right now, because you do not have to prepare an answer before a question arrives. You do not need to decide whether you would take them back. My beloved child, all you need right now is clarity about your own standards. What would you need to hear? What would you need to see? Would they need to be completely out of the new connection before approaching you romantically? Would you need consistency over time? These questions matter because your awakening is about choice, not waiting. Listen closely, because your soulmate may also be noticing something about themselves that surprises them. They are not only missing you. They are missing the version of themselves that existed when they felt emotionally connected to you. Maybe they were more inspired. Maybe they felt more alive. Maybe you challenged them to think about growth, commitment, and emotional honesty. Don't scroll, because that does not mean you were responsible for their happiness. It means the connection awakened something they have not been able to recreate through avoidance. Pause here, because the new person may become an unexpected catalyst rather than a replacement. Sometimes someone enters a person's life not to erase the past but to expose what remains unresolved. My beloved child, perhaps this new connection is showing your soulmate where they still hide, where they still fear closeness, and where they still compare every meaningful emotional experience to you. That realization can become uncomfortable enough to force real growth. Don't look away, because your soulmate is reaching a crossroads now. If they keep getting closer to this person while hiding unresolved feelings, the situation becomes unfair. If they abruptly run back to you without doing any inner work, the same fears could repeat. So what is the third option? Listen to this: honesty. Honest with themselves. Honest with the new person. Honest with you if they choose to reach out. My beloved child, that may be the unexpected thing developing now. They are beginning to understand that the next right move is not necessarily choosing a person. It is choosing truth first. Your heart needs this right now, because truth protects you too. You do not want someone returning simply because another connection disappointed them. You want someone who understands why they lost closeness with you, what they contributed to that loss, and what they would do differently now. Don't scroll past that distinction. Missing you is emotional. Choosing to grow is intentional. Watch for the difference. Listen carefully, because there may soon be one conversation that changes everything. The new person could ask your soulmate directly whether there is someone from their past they would still choose if given another chance. My beloved child, that question may stop them completely. They may not answer immediately. They may even say they do not know. But inside, your name may appear before any other thought. Wait, because what happens after that question is where the unexpected shift could become impossible to hide. Your soulmate may begin withdrawing from the new connection, not because they suddenly dislike this person, but because they realize they are not fully emotionally available. They may need to confront themselves before hurting someone else. Don't scroll, because for the first time, walking away may not be their way of avoiding love. It may be their way of stopping a cycle of emotional dishonesty. Your heart needs this right now, because you still should not chase what happens next. Let them complete their own decisions. Let them close any open door honestly before trying to reopen yours. My beloved child, you do not need to become part of confusion to prove a soulmate bond is real. If they want to speak to you, let them come with clarity. Stay with this final message, because your soulmate is beginning to remember something you once said that they did not understand at the time. Maybe you told them, "You'll understand when I'm no longer here the same way." Maybe you simply said you could not keep waiting forever. At the time, they may have assumed you were speaking from emotion. Now they understand you were describing a boundary. Don't scroll, because the biggest unexpected development is still forming. The closer your soulmate gets to this other person, the more they are realizing that what happened between you was never fully resolved, and now the new person may be the one who finally tells them to stop running from it. My beloved child, your soulmate is approaching a moment when they may have to admit out loud that part of their heart is still connected to you. And once those words are spoken, the new connection, the old connection, and everything they believed about moving on could change at once. Listen to this final revelation carefully. There is one question your soulmate is becoming terrified to answer. If you had one completely honest conversation with the person from your past, what would you tell them? They already know the beginning of the answer. They would tell you that they tried to move forward before they understood what they were leaving behind. They would tell you that another person did not erase the connection. And they would tell you that getting closer to someone new unexpectedly revealed how many feelings for you were still unresolved. But my beloved child, there is one more truth they have not faced yet. Something happened during this new connection that made them realize you may have been right about them all along, and when they finally admit what that was, it could completely change the decision they thought they had already made.